What's going on with Ethereum Classic? What's up, sons? It's Blind Rod with Son of a Tech once again, and today we're going to be taking a look at Ethereum Classic up to, actually, to be honest, the 6th of May. So this video will be coming out a couple days after, so I will be a little bit behind, but I wanted to go over exactly why Ethereum Classic is increasing in price so significantly, how that compares to, of course, Ethereum, a little bit of background on the whole ETC versus Ethereum mess that went on way back in the day, in case you guys are new to cryptocurrency and aren't aware of how that all went down, as well as some additional materials for you to go ahead and do your own research. But before we do, here's a word from our sponsor. Skillshare is an online learning community for creatives where millions come together to take the next step in their creative journey. Skillshare offers thousands of inspiring classes for creative and curious people alike on topics including illustration, design, photography, video, freelancing, and even cryptocurrency. As a content creator and cryptocurrency enthusiast, Skillshare offers me the tools to sharpen my videography skills with classes like Video on a Budget, Prepare for Your Shoot Without Breaking the Bank, and for cryptocurrency, Accounting 101, Accounting Rules for Crypto and Bitcoin. It's curated specifically for learning, meaning there are no ads and they are always launching new premium classes, so you can stay focused and follow wherever your creativity takes you. And it's less than $10 a month with an annual subscription. The first 1,000 of my subscribers to click the link in the description will get a free trial of premium membership, so you can explore your creativity. All right, welcome back. Let's hop right into it. As you guys can see here, right now on May 6th, we are at $112.45 as far as for US dollar price for Ethereum Classic. Now, that's pretty insane, especially considering that it had almost no movement for quite some time. It really hasn't been going up in price, especially in comparison to things like Bitcoin or Ethereum. It's remained pretty stagnant. Now, there are reasons why it's remained stagnant. Primarily, it's been a series of 51% attacks that have caused a whole bunch of issues. Now, you had one most recently in August of 2020, but you also had one in 2019 as well. So these things that happen, as far as like when we talk about a 51% attack, it definitely shakes like the investors, right? They don't want to hold as much. Also, just in general, if you're having those security issues, it makes it difficult for exchanges and people to move their currency between, of course, exchanges, etc., and sell it off. So it makes it really hard for that price movement to adjust with the rest of the market. So it's not really surprising that it really stayed here, but to give you guys an idea, a 51% attack is when somebody takes over 51% of the hash rate and then manipulates the blockchain to basically write their own transactions. Now, depending on how far they get on the 51% attack would determine how detrimental to the chain it would be. So it really depends there, but all you really need to understand is that because of the lower hash rate on the network compared to something like Ethereum, it means the security is lower. Now, we've also talked about this in relation to EIP 1559 because there were security concerns if the profitability of Ethereum dropped enough that miners went ahead and moved off of it, you would reduce the amount of hash power on the network, which would then create a security concern and a possibility for 51% attacks. Ethereum Classic is a perfect example of a coin that does not make as much profit for miners, thereby basically reducing the hash rate and increasing the amount of 51% attack attempts. There we go. So when you hear people like Bitsby Trippin bring up concerns regarding EIP 1559 in relation to security, that is basically at a very foundational level, this security concern that is being presented. Okay, back to Ethereum Classic. So you see this big pump here recently, and then you head on over to What to Mine, and boom, right now ETC is almost as profitable as Ethereum. A big note about this too is you can mine on graphics cards with 4 gigabytes of video memory thanks to some changes they made, which also helped increase their security, because as Ethereum basically kicked off all the 4 gigabyte cards, the 4 gigabyte cards had to go somewhere. Obviously, if they can go and be just as profitable on Ethereum Classic, then they would move to Ethereum Classic with those GPUs. What that does is increase the security and thereby also increases the trust in the platform, which then can allow it to start increasing in price because, ta-da, miners apparently do matter. So there you go. Just to give you guys an idea of how that works out. I hope that makes sense. But what we are talking about here is basically by them implementing a change that allowed for 4 gigabyte cards to keep mining, then people were able to move those cards from Ethereum, where they no longer make anything, over to another ET hash algorithm and then continue to mine, and now at this point almost at the exact same profitability. So if we took a 4 gigabyte RX 480 and we compared that to an 8 gigabyte RX 480, the hash rates are surprisingly similar. They stay about the same. Obviously you pay less for the 4 gigabyte RX 480. If the miner had a whole bunch of 4 gigabytes and they got kicked off of Ethereum, they moved to Ethereum Classic. I just want to repeat that so you guys understand. And when that hash power moves over to Ethereum Classic, what does that mean? It means that Ethereum Classic has more hash power, which means they have higher security than they had in the past, which reduces the possibility of 51% attacks, which then increases investor trust. But here's the thing, you don't really need to worry too much about Ethereum Classic overtaking Ethereum in general. The reason for this is it's not backwards compatible. It's not going to be moving to, of course, proof of stake. That could be good for some and bad for others. Obviously, miners, it'll be good for them if they can maintain, but it's also a problem because at this point, Ethereum Classic doesn't really have a ton of valid projects built on top of it. It's not like Ethereum, and also it will still suffer the scalability issues of Ethereum 1.0, as it will not be moving over to any of the additional sharding options and so on. Yes, I said sharding. All right, so let's get back into this. This is kind of why the security goes up, etc. And then if you guys really want to get into the nitty gritty, I have an article here from PrimeXBT, who is a sponsor for the channel. They cover Ethereum and ETC and the split and why it happened. Basically, what you need to understand is that there was, in the early days, on some of the early smart contracts, there was something called the DAO, DAO. And basically what ended up happening with that is that there was a flaw that allowed people to essentially make transactions where they could buy DAO and ETH and exchange it and basically get their Ethereum back. So it was a huge $1 million mistake, tens of $1 million mistakes. So they did a hard fork as proposed by Mr. Vida himself. And they went ahead and hard forked that and gave the money back, recovering it. This is where the arguments for centralization of Ethereum and a lot of the complaints of the old guard come from. So if you hear people saying ETH is a centralized piece of, then you understand why they say that. Basically because the hard fork that split Ethereum Classic and then Ethereum as we know it today was an attempt to basically return money that was caused by a hack, or Ethereum that was caused by a hack to the users. People on both sides of the fence here get very passionate, I guess I should say, and I think everybody has valid points. So I'd like to hear y'all's in the comments if you go through and read this, and to kind of get a better idea on why it happened. Okay, so Now we need to go to the news and take a look, and you'll see that there's not a lot going on currently with Ethereum Classic, especially if you compare it to Ethereum. So the only news is really from April 21st, which is basically IOHK development update. Now, in this particular one, you can go dig in and read it, watch the video. Basically what you're talking about is a similar technology that has currently been being used for Cardano, from my understanding, as far as IOHK goes. I don't think it's anything groundbreaking at this point. It's basically just Ethereum Classic keeping up with the current blockchain technologies that are coming along. Now, here's where we talk about the recovery, and I'm going to post a link to Etherplan down here in the description. He did some charts that are super helpful, and what I really want you guys to pay attention to is the average market cap ratio between Ethereum and Ethereum Classic is what you're seeing here, okay? And from July 2018 to July 20, it was 29x, right? And all the way here to the peak where it was 206x, and then as of April 19th, it was 55x, which is when Ethereum Classic hit about $50. Now, it's not quite double, but if you double that, and then of course consider the price change in Ethereum also going above 3,000 now, what you should see is what we are seeing, which is the increase of price of Ethereum Classic to maintain the market cap ratio with Ethereum. What does that mean for you? That means that there's nothing special going on with Ethereum Classic. All it is doing is recovering back to what you would expect it to normally be within the market, okay? And it's coming on a little late. Now, part of the reason it's coming on a little late was obviously the 51% attack in August of 2020, which caused some issues with people's trust, etc. And there you go. Now, why would I say that the market cap ratio would be the same and this is a recovery? Well, if you go ahead and take a look at what is tradable on Robinhood, which is where all these new retail investors are coming from, you'll see that you have Bitcoin, Bitcoin Cash, Bitcoin SV, Dogecoin, Ethereum, Ethereum Classic, and Litecoin. Now, for the most part, a lot of these are staying within their market cap ratios of Bitcoin and Ethereum. Ethereum Classic hadn't. If people are wanting to see the profits that they think they can get off of Ethereum from smaller coins, other altcoins, and they're only trading on Robinhood, then they might go, okay, well, I'm just going to grab some Ethereum Classic here and hope that it has that same crazy gain that Ethereum had. And so that without the education and with the sort of hype behind cryptocurrency and what I would consider to be yet another bubble to a certain extent, and I'm not an investor, this is not financial advice, I'm just saying it looks eerily similar to what happened before, which is everything pumps at this point. And if that crypto or that altcoin is available on a platform that, you know, retail investors who don't have as much experience in the market have access to, then those are the ones that are going to go up significantly and at least catch up with the remaining coins. Now, once again, I'm not an investor. This is a talking head video. I just kind of wanted to give you guys an idea of why this is happening, why it's not as big of a deal as a lot of people may consider it to be. Some big takeaways should be, though, of course, the influence of miners when they start moving to other networks and helping secure other coins, preventing 51% attacks and making them more investor friendly. That would be one thing to take away. Another thing to take away would be that at this point, everything's pumping and catching up as far as market cap ratios from where they were previous to where they were now, which means almost everything as far as altcoins goes are going to go up. And that doesn't validate the project or mean that anything is happening. if the price is going up because there was a significant change in development, or there was a big partnership or something along those lines, we would see it within the Ethereum Classic news section. There's been nothing since April 19th. So it's been a while. The big second pump here that happened after, of course, April 19th, when that took off and that update was posted. Nothing has happened since then. So this isn't a news related pump of Ethereum Classic. It is purely a market adjustment and catching up to the rest of the market, obviously, is what's happening here. Now, what do I think of Ethereum Classic? I think that unless somebody takes over and figures out scalability and security gets tightened up, and which I think moving to 4 GB cards was a good way, by the way. Doing that update was a good way to help increase security. But unless you can really solve those two problems, I don't see it being viable. And just with the absolute amount of power and developers and people behind Ethereum, it's going to be hard pressed to have anybody move to Ethereum Classic, especially when you have other options like Polkadot, Conflux, etc. Right? So Ravencoin, there's a ton of different options that do the same smart contract thing that are further along than, of course, Ethereum Classic. Now, we've talked about Ravencoin before. I do want to clarify, I think there's still some scalability issues over there. The only proof of work smart contract coin that's kind of working to solve scalability, in my opinion, so far right now, would be the Conflux. And then, of course, if you're talking about proof of stake, there's Polkadot. So hopefully this big rant gives you guys an idea of why Ethereum Classic pumped. It hopefully helps you pump your brakes a little bit on doing any crazy investment as you understand why it's doing that in the market. And if you have some 4 GB cards, get them on that ETC train, because hey, it's just as profitable as Ethereum, and you ain't going to be mining Ethereum with 4 GB GPUs. So it's awesome if you have some of those laying around, and I hope you got a little excited for that to start mining some Ethereum Classic. Thanks for watching. I'll see you next Tuesday. If you enjoyed this content, you can check out more crypto content on this playlist up here, or of course, go ahead and subscribe for more in the future. Adios.